about Gaylord. And everyone wants to know how do we fit within Gaylord as the CVRCs. And Gaylord really is, it's a port land use decision and a lease agreement. But as you've known, and as everybody knows, there's a letter of intent. There is this discussion about how do we finance all the infrastructure improvements in the convention. And so there is contemplated to be a large investment from the redevelopment agency of tax increment derived from the value of these improvements. So the role this board will play is that once there is some sort of agreement settled with Gaylord and the port, and there's actually a deal to talk about, then this board will then advise the redevelopment agency on the merits of the tax increment being pledged to this project. And that, too, is not yet ready for discussion because there is no yet agreement between Gaylord and the Port of San Diego. So again, Gaylord, you would then advise the RDA on the TI.
Gaylord's a question mark, right?
Well, since Gaylord has a letter of intent with the port, they're still in lease negotiations. If those become fruitful, then we can have this discussion.
Yeah.
Right. Any questions on that one? Okay. So we go to Pacifica. And kind of playing off of what Jim was saying, you know, if the land exchange happens, the state lands approves it, Pacifica actually moves forward on the development of these two parcels. This would be under the jurisdiction of the city of Chula Vista to process those entitlements. And the role of this board would then be, in pending no other improvements, would become the design review body to process that project. So it would go like any other project within the redevelopment project area. It would go to the RAC, it would go to the DRC, and then depending on if there's any other decisions that were necessary for that development. So you have three separate and distinct roles as it relates to the Bayfront. The LCP, the general plan, you're really advising the planning commission, which then will advise the city council. Gaylord, you'll advise the RDA on the TI, and Pacifica, you'll act as a design review body.
We don't act as far as approving a DDA?
Pacifica has not come to the agency to ask for anything. They own the land, so if there was any sort of financial partnership, it would be more like an owner participation agreement. But at this point in time, they're standing on their own 2 feet to do the development.
They have an option on the land over the Sweetwater.
Right.
And they're proposing to exercise that option, buy the land and then trade it for the land with the actual housing site.
But there's
That's what the land swaps is. That's what the land swap is.
This would generate revenue for the agency.
Well, that one is probably going to be more like a classic residential type development.
Right.
Those are homes and they're coming in within the city's jurisdiction to basically build, so probably more along those lines.
Will all the issues with state lands and entitling the rights be squared away before the Pacifica trade is completed so that there will be no problems that we have to deal with relative to that regulatory?
Yes, it would have to be. The way that the process would work would be the EIR has to be certified first. The state land commission would have to approve it, and then you'd have to go forward with the actual approval of the master plan and the coastal commission. That sort of work.
And I would think the Coastal Commission will impose a lot of the...
I can't believe you say that. Does any other director have a comment before we open it up for some other public discussion? Or do you have other things to?
No, that was pretty much the 30,000 foot overview of the Bayfront that we wanted to provide you. And as these things tend to move forward and they become realities, then we'll be back to you with updates.
Okay, that's fair.